We're here with Tim Winther of Dominion Traditional Buildings Group, who've been the stonemason contractor for the Horseshoe staircase restoration. Tim, we're getting close to the end of y'all's phase of this work. How's the project been from your perspective?
The project's gone really well, Scott. I think for us, we had an idea of some of the things that we were going to encounter on this site, and certainly a heavy piece of this project was the documentation phase, and that really was the first thing that we did when we were out here. We had Hunter Shackelford, one of our guys, and Mike Ondrek, one of our project managers out here, and we spent probably 2.5 days doing measurements, shooting grades, having some communication with Stokes of England with regard to the railing. And we had points that we had to meet on the project with putting the stone back. And we've had a situation here where stone has slid. We've discovered that we didn't have much of a footing below things. We discovered sort of some interesting ways that things were built, and kind of went in with maybe 80% knowing what we were going to do, and about 20% of we're going to be making this up kind of as we go. And even when we started, we got through the documentation phase really well. Everything came off well. If you can see in the backdrop here, the site logistics are really, really tight. So the sequencing of how we remove things and how we planned on things going back were probably the most critical component logistically on the job, because we can't be dragging stones over top of each other. So a lot of thought and planning, I think, went into just coordinating the removal and how things were going to go back. So the big thing for us in the unknown is, what is under this? We had no idea what we were going to discover. So I know that when we did our initial proposal, I had in my mind, well, this is how it's going to go back. And then we get out here and we start disassembling things, and Mike was here and Hunter were here, and it ended up probably changing our minds 3 or 4 times in the process as we discovered things. The cheek walls were really not supported by a footing, the side railing, the stone railing going up. They were actually lugs that stuck out from the steps that they were sitting on, and then the steps really weren't supported by anything. So all of that weight is what kind of let the steps sort of fall, in on themselves, essentially. So, we did some combination of digging down to undisturbed soil, putting small footings beneath different ends of steps. We ended up having to cut the lugs off of the steps because of the elevations not working, and it just needing more support than was there with them. So I think there was kind of the big brain piece, and then of course the big brawn piece, which was the machine that we had in here. We had a mini excavator come in, and it was actually very easy. We were able to sort of pry the steps up, get straps under them, lift them, walk them back down the aisle here. So from a manly standpoint, it wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty easy. The hardest part was the volume of concrete that we had to put in as a footing, and here, a tight site again. You've got 75 yards of walking everything in, the inability to really bring machinery or bobcat skid steer type machinery to help it. So in that end, it was kind of like an army of ants, kind of moving material in and out and back and forth. And you can see here, we've got basically a disaster behind us as we're kind of finishing up and getting ready to start demobilizing here. And then it really starts getting into sort of the intricate work. And I got to give Mike and Hunter, they were the leads as far as the installation here, a lot of credit, because they had fine points that they had to hit. They had stones that they really couldn't modify, and it was touchy. There was a lot of brain work and a lot of thought that went into it. And of course now, as you can see, we're kind of getting into more of the detailing work. The guys are doing mortar patches, we're doing pointing, we've done cleaning here. We've managed to get a lot of the pollution and sort of the biological mess off the stones. So as we're standing here now, we're kind of finishing up some of those detail works. I think really all we've got left are some joints to fix, and to put some mortar in. We started to put the tile back in at the top deck in anticipation of Stokes coming back in and setting the railing for it's going to be a really, really phenomenal job here. So it's been really neat. It's one of those jobs that sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity to be at a property like this and to take part in something that means a lot to people in the area, the staff here, and it's been a really good experience. I think the guys have all enjoyed it, and I know that it's like everything you're always learning. So it's been really, really gratifying to be here, Scott.